Mine comes from a good place in my heart, though. Everybody remembers my last one, of course, when I disproved the Holocaust.
Yeah.
Well, we're going right back to Nazi Germany. After the fall of the Third Reich, many high-ranking Nazis and their families fled Germany to the South American refuge of Argentina. There, many of them lived out their days in peace in small communities that were almost entirely of Germanic descent. In these communities, they spoke German and often did very little to hide their former identities. However, some of the more notorious Nazis, to include Adolf Eichmann, who, of course, was the architect of Hitler's final solution, which we, of course, debunked in our previous conspiracy theory episode. He was later captured, of course, by Israeli Mossad agents and sentenced to death. One of the few death penalties in Israel's history, I believe, maybe the only. Joseph Mengele also fled there, a Nazi doctor who performed gruesome human experiments, supposedly, at Auschwitz death camp. He lived out the rest of his life in South America and died of natural causes in 1979. Lived a pretty full life. Walter Ralph also.
He actually would have gotten to see Greece.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
thought I'd put that out there.
How can you forget that classic? John Travolta just really breaking it. Yeah.
Oh man, I'm like, okay. Yeah.
Fucking Rizzo, the whole thing. Walter Ralph, another noted Nazi who his note to fame was that he created the mobile gas chamber Walter Ralph. He created the mobile gas chamber by modifying large cargo trucks to divert their exhaust into airtight chambers in the rear that could hold up to 60 people. He lived in South America.
Mobile gas chamber thing.
Well, I'm bringing it to you right now. This is hot off the presses from 1943. He lived out the rest of his days in South America until his natural death in 1984. These are but a few of the many, many high-ranking and powerful Nazis who escaped justice, if not for the rest of their lives, then at least for many, many years. But what of Hitler? We're told that he killed himself in his bunker in the final days of the war and commanded that his and his newly married wife, Eva Braun's body were to be burned. So that they might not be taken as trophies or displayed publicly, as was the body of Mussolini. Hitler had seen this and didn't want the same to happen to him, we're told. But why? Why not attempt to escape the same way so many of his underlings and compatriots would? Fleeing to South America had been the escape plan of the Nazis for several years. As soon as the Soviets started invading, a lot of Nazis saw that the writing might indeed be on the wall, and they started making plans. The routes, the methods, the funding to do so had been put in place for years. I put forward that, in fact, Hitler, a man who employed body doubles and excelled at propaganda, did in fact fake his own death and escape, like so many others, to Argentina, where he likely lived out the rest of his life in hiding under an assumed identity. The Soviets, of course, known for their truthfulness, they claimed that they captured Hitler's supposed remains not long after his death, just outside his bunker in Berlin. They were, by all reports, badly burned and amounted to little more than bone, teeth, and a severely burned body that was described as mostly mush that was unrecognizable as a human. However, they did not use these as trophies. Rather, they hid them away and eventually destroyed them. The few samples of the skull that remained were DNA tested eventually and found not only to not be Hitler's, but to not even be the skull of a man. We are left to believe that in Stalin's version, yes, that's absolutely a truthful thing. You can Google that. Stalin's version of it was a woman's skull. It was not Hitler's skull. It was a woman's skull. Stalin's version of events.
Hitler was a woman?
Yes.
Whoa,
Kyle. This is a conspiracy.
God damn it.
Kyle, if you can discern someone's sex from their skull after death, that would mean that gender is real. And so
you're assuming gender.
So we're left to believe Stalin's version of events, a man well known for his deception of the people and pro-Soviet propaganda. He'd tell all sorts of lies, things that would make the Soviets look good, the West look bad. Meanwhile, however, throughout the middle of the last century, the CIA, Mossad, MI5, and KGB all had files of claims that Hitler was living in South America, and they pursued them actively. If Adolf Hitler killed himself in Berlin, asks one, why were the world spy services still looking for him into the middle of the 1950s? It was reported by dozens of news reporters in September of 45 that British MI5 were hunting Hitler, who had reportedly been altered by a plastic surgeon. They also ran comments by the deputy mayor of Berlin, who was convinced that Hitler was alive. Such was the persistence of these claims that 1 month later, the Supreme Allied Commander Dwight Eisenhower suggested that yes, Hitler might still be alive. In fact, there were multiple reports that Hitler was living with his old comrades in Argentina, having by some accounts been spirited out of Berlin, flown to a German air base in Denmark, and then taken across the Atlantic by U-boat. The Fuhrer, one FBI file reported, had arrived at his Argentinian ranch hideaway by horseback. Luftwaffe Captain Peter Baumgart claimed that he flew Hitler and Braun to safety in Denmark on April 28th, 1945, stopping overnight in Magdeburg due to an Allied bombing. Made during his trial for war crimes in Poland in December 47, Baumgart's story was reported in newspapers throughout the entire world. Why would a man on trial for his life admit to further crimes that were new information to the court?
Being tortured.
Okay. So in conclusion, one of two things are true. Either we believe that the Soviet version of events and assume that one of the world's most powerful men who'd survived 6 assassination attempts, who employed body doubles and was very secretive, died at his own hands in defeat, or we believe the evidence to the contrary that are in our own common sense. Hitler did not die in 1945 and likely lived out the rest of his days in relative comfort and luxury in Argentina amongst friends and loved ones.
That's interesting. I don't buy it, though.
What a nice story.
Seems like it would be
Happily
very
ever
difficult
after.
to get out of where he was in that bunker.
My take on it is
Everybody else escaped.
Hitler was
Surrounded.
kind of famous.
No, they were not. They weren't surrounded because everybody left.
but he wouldn't.
But the rest of them were turned into the Nuremberg trials. They didn't escape.
Not the people in the bunker. I just gave you a list of the people who escaped. They were all there at the bunker too.
There were some hardcore people that did get out.
No one
No, you-
recognized him for the next 50 years of his life or whatever there was left.
They claim plastic.
Did he
surgery.
have a razor? If he had a razor, I believe he was able to escape.
Yeah.
Yeah, my
As
name.
long as he
Adam.
just whoosh that
He walked
fucker
around-
off. You would not
He walked around
recognize
with a
Hitler
guy-
without his mustache.
You might be
That's
right.
true. He probably looks like a normal ass dude without the mustache.
Yeah,
Like,
that
mustache.
one move, and you just don't even look like
He
the guy
spent the
anymore.
rest of his life acting under the pseudonym Charlie Chaplin.
Yeah, my name is Miguel. I am from Argentina. Yeah, no,
I am Peter Julava.
I'm pretty sure Charlie Chaplin was the one who was like, "This bastard stole my mustache."
Like, look,
More than the other one.
Have you ever seen the Whitest Kids You Know episode where they send Charlie Chaplin to go? I think they're like charging. Oh, I know what it is. The Allies are at Hitler's bunker, and they're like psyching themselves up, like, "All right, boys, this is it. Hitler's in there. Let's go take him." And they rush in, and it's Charlie Chaplin, like doing his whole bit with the cane and the hat and everything. And they're like, "That's not Hitler. That's Charlie Chaplin." And you're like, "Oh my God, they really think it's Charlie Chaplin." And then Charlie Chaplin's like reach it, like, he's doing the mime thing. He's like reaches over like for the Allied soldier's gun, and he's like, yeah, and he goes and like kills all fucking 3 of them. And you think, Hitler got the best of them. And then Hitler walks out of the back and he goes, "Thank you, my greatest friend, Charlie Chaplin." They're both fucking there.
See, that's the
man.
conspiracy I want to hear. But also, you raised a lot of interesting points there. I like it. I'm interested by it. And I have an inherent want to believe in conspiracy theories.
And that Hitler is still alive. I understand, yeah.
Dude, if Hitler were alive right now, wouldn't he be like 100?
Oh, not still alive. I shouldn't say that. He survived.
Oh, no, he's
You
still
ever
alive.
watch that movie? You ever watch the movie Boys from Brazil?
Oh
No.
yeah,
That's
Never
a
heard
sick
of that.
movie. So the premise of that is that they have cloned Hitler, And they have like, I don't know, 80 Hitler clones, these little boys, and they have placed them in similar social conditions as Hitler grew up in. Like his father has the same job. He's like a civil servant. The mother is like a housewife or something, like whatever Hitler grew up in, like income and everything, and they're placed throughout the fucking world. And they were created in Brazil by this scientist, and this guy gets to the bottom of it. He finds out
Dr. Mengele that actually got it together. Yeah, Gregory Peck.
Gregory Peck. Yeah,
it was a great movie. Yeah,
it's a movie, or is this something?
It's a movie. It's a movie. It's like a Hollywood movie, and it's really fucking good. And there's a guy going around trying to kill all the little boys. And I think Gregory Peck is. And then there's a guy trying to prevent him from doing it. It's fucking good.
Yeah, Gregory Peck is Dr. Mengele, and he's like in charge of the whole thing. And they decided, or they figured out scientifically that if you just cloned Hitler and grew him up, that he wouldn't turn into Hitler unless he lived the same kind of life. So the father died when Hitler was a kid. So they had assassins go around and shoot the father of all these kids that they placed in certain situations around the world. They had to go through the whole thing of making Hitler's life like it was. And then someone found out, Simon Wiesenthal or something. I don't know. Yeah. And then I love that one. There's one line where Dr. Mengele, Gregory Peck, is at a big party in Brazil, and there's Nazis everywhere, and the place is done up like Berlin. And this ugly woman says something to him, and he just goes, "Shut up, you ugly bitch!" And it's delivered perfectly. Gregory Peck, you might remember him from fucking To Kill a Mockingbird. Like just a brilliant actor saying, "Shut up, you ugly bitch." Yeah, catch it if you can. It's probably on Netflix.
It's good. It's fucking good.
Yeah.
Now, Kyle, are we to believe that Hitler escaped and didn't try again?
I think he saw the
he
jig
was
up.
motivated.
You know, I think he did have a lot of illnesses. I think he had Parkinson's, and he was also addicted to several substances, a methamphetamine derivative being one of them. So I think that he just retired, you know?
I don't know, man. It's hard to retire. Be like George Foreman. He's coming back. You know, he's coming back again.
To be honest, I put more faith into doctors are into butt stuff than Hitler lived for another 40 years.
I literally, no jokes aside, do not. That's how unlikely that doctors are into butt stuff.